Christopher Ashford stood by the window of his penthouse, watching the city lights flicker like distant stars. He was a man who'd built an empire from nothing, and at 42, he had everything money could buy. Yet tonight, something nagged at him. His new housekeeper, Elena Morales, had requested to leave work 2 hours early for the third time this month. She was always punctual, always thorough, but these early departures troubled him. Not because of the work left undone, but because of the exhaustion he saw etched into her 35-year-old face. Christopher turned to his head of security, Marcus. "Follow her tonight," he said quietly. "I need to know what's going on." Marcus nodded, though his expression showed concern. "Sir, are you sure that's necessary?" "Just do it," Christopher replied, "but be discreet." An hour later, Marcus called from his car. "Sir, you need to hear this." Christopher listened as Marcus described following Elena through the evening streets. She hadn't gone to a bar or met friends as Christopher had half suspected. Instead, she'd taken 2 buses to the old district across town. She went to St. Mary's Community Center. Marcus said, "She's been inside for 40 minutes now." "What's she doing there?" "I went to the window." Marcus continued, "Sir, she's teaching." Christopher felt confusion wash over him. "Teaching what?" "English," Marcus said. "There's about 20 people in there. Older immigrants, mostly. She's at a whiteboard helping them with pronunciation." Christopher was silent. "There's more," Marcus added. "After the class ended, I saw her hand out sandwiches. She brought food for them." Christopher's chest tightened. "Stay there," he said. "I'm coming." 20 minutes later, Christopher's black car pulled up outside the modest community center. Through the window, he could see Elena patiently working with an elderly woman, repeating simple phrases. Her face showed none of the tiredness he'd seen at his penthouse. Instead, there was light in her eyes. Pure joy. When the session ended, Christopher watched Elena help stack chairs and sweep the floor. She spoke warmly with each person, making sure they had bus fare home. Then she gathered her things and stepped outside into the cool evening air. Christopher was waiting by the door. Elena froze when she saw him. Her face went pale, and she clutched her bag tighter. "Mr. Ashford," she whispered, "I can explain." "You asked to leave early to come here," Christopher said. It wasn't a question. Elena's eyes filled with tears. "I'm so sorry," she said. "I know I should have told you the truth, but I was afraid you'd fire me." She took a shaky breath. "This job is the best I've ever had. The pay lets me send money home to my mother in El Salvador. Why didn't you just tell me what you were doing?" Elena looked down at her worn shoes. "Because people like you don't usually care about people like me," she said softly. "We're invisible." The words hit Christopher harder than any business rival ever had. "Tell me about this," he said, gesturing to the center. Elena hesitated, then began to speak. "I came to this country 12 years ago," she said. "I didn't speak English. I was lost and scared." Her voice grew stronger with the memory. "A woman named Rose taught free classes here. She was patient with me. She never made me feel stupid." Elena smiled through her tears. "Rose passed away 6 months ago. The center couldn't afford to pay a teacher, so I volunteered. These people," she continued, "they're like I was, hard-working and afraid. They clean offices and wash dishes and take care of other people's children. They just want to learn enough English to help their kids with homework or understand a doctor or maybe someday pass a citizenship test." Christopher felt something crack open inside his chest. He'd spent 20 years building wealth focused entirely on profit margins and market share. When had he last thought about the actual people whose labor made his empire possible? "How many nights a week do you do this?" he asked. 3, Elena said. "Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays." "And you bring food?" "Just sandwiches," Elena said quickly. "Nothing expensive. I make them after I finish at your home." Christopher looked at this woman who worked for him 10 hours a day, then spent her evenings teaching others. She earned barely enough to support herself and send money home, yet she gave freely to those who had even less. "You're not fired," Christopher said finally. Elena's relief was visible. "Thank you, Mr. Ashford, thank you so much." "But things are going to change," he continued. Elena's face clouded with worry again. "Starting tomorrow, you'll work 8-hour days," Christopher said, "and I'm doubling your salary." Elena gasped. "I don't understand." "You'll still teach here 3 nights a week," Christopher went on, "but now you'll do it as director of the Ashford Foundation Community Education Program." He pulled out his phone and made a note. "We'll cover rent for the space, hire 2 additional teachers, and provide materials." Elena's hands flew to her mouth. "This isn't charity," Christopher said, meeting her eyes. "This is me finally seeing what's been invisible." He paused. "My grandfather came here with nothing. He worked in factories and warehouses. Someone gave him a chance to learn and grow." Christopher's voice grew thick. "I forgot that. I forgot where I came from." Tears streamed down Elena's face. "Why are you doing this?" "Because you reminded me that success isn't measured by what we accumulate," Christopher said. "It's measured by what we give and who we lift up along the way." He extended his hand. "Will you help me do this right?" Elena shook his hand, her grip firm despite her tears. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes." 3 months later, the center had expanded to 5 nights a week with 3 teachers and over 100 students. Christopher visited, often sitting quietly in the back, watching people like his grandfather had been struggle and triumph over simple English phrases. He'd also changed practices at his company, ensuring fair wages and education opportunities for all employees. One evening after class, Elena approached him with a photo. "This is my mother," she said. "She's been able to stop working because of my new salary. She's 68 and her hands are finally healing." Christopher looked at the smiling woman in the photograph. "Thank you for trusting me with your story," he said. "No," Elena replied. "Thank you for seeing me." Sometimes we get so focused on building our own kingdoms that we forget we're all connected. True wealth isn't found in bank accounts. It's found in the lives we touch and the dignity we help restore. Christopher had learned that the hard way, but he'd learned it nonetheless. And that made all the difference. If this story touched your heart, please share, and subscribe for more tales about seeing the invisible and honoring the dignity in every person. Leave a comment sharing a time when someone saw your true value. Your stories matter, and they remind us all that kindness creates ripples that change the world.